Well, hey there, guys. I'm Axel the Beast, and this is the Curiosity Shot, the ZeldaDungeon.net video mailbag where I answer your Zelda questions. And our first question comes from the Happy Mask Salesman. What's your favorite Zelda temple? Dungeon. The term is dungeon. And my favorite dungeon is actually Stone Tower Temple from Majora's Mask. I don't think that's changed with Skyward Sword. I'd probably have to think about it, actually. Think about it a little bit, but until further notice, it's still Stone Tower Temple. The dungeons in Skyward Sword are amazing, but I don't think they quite trumped how awesome that dungeon was, even though they're really great. Though I think the best dungeon is actually the Forest Temple in Ocarina of Time. I don't think it's the same as my favorite. Be sure to tell me your guys' favorite dungeon in the comments, though, as with all these opinion questions, of which I think there are 3 in this mailbag. Matthew Z Fan asks, what was your favorite part of Skyward Sword? You know, that's actually really hard because, you know, there's a lot of moments I loved. I loved the final battle. I liked every single Ghirahim scene, including his first appearance. The first 3 dungeons had me with a perpetual stupid grin on my face, like, you know, very exciting because I really enjoyed those dungeons. I have to say, probably overall, the first, like, 2 or 3 hours I played with the game, up, you know, like, from starting the game up till the conclusion of the Skyview Temple would probably be my top, because just, like, how amazing the game was to me, opening the game and doing the first areas. And I think the game is definitely an example of a game that loses steam at a point. But I think that the earliest parts, especially up through the first 3 dungeons, but also that main intro area, are just really amazing. And I think at that point when I was playing the game, the magic of the game was still like full force, and it hadn't diminished at all. And it probably did for me around the Ancient Cistern, but the earliest part was the strongest for that for me. Again, be sure to tell me yours, though. ShadowCrow99 asks, what is your favorite Ocarina song in Ocarina of Time? Well, one of the obvious ones to pick is actually the Warping songs, since they're just more elaborate in general. I mean, the song of Storms is great, but I think I definitely have to pick one of the Ocarina ones. Although, you might expect me to pick the, the Nocturne of Shadow, since, you know, I like creepy things. Or, you know, the popular one is the, what is it even called? Requiem of Spirit. But I think my favorite is the Minute of Forest or the Serenade of Water. I think those are my favorites just because I think they're the best done songs, the most elaborate. Though you gotta love the Bolero of Fire's drums. You know, it's just really hard to pick one, but I'd probably pick the Forest one or the Water one. Probably leaning on the Water one, though. Cheddar456 asks, what is your opinion on the rumors that Link won't be the hero of the next Zelda game? They're false. Black Raven 6695 asks, do you think Tingle is a good or bad addition to the series? Who doesn't love Tingle? I mean, I've never gotten all the criticism that little guy's gotten. I mean, like, he's like a hilarious character, like, really weird, really crazy, really strange little guy that just, like, he's just, like, in the game to be really weird and creepy and crazy. That's his whole thing. I mean, how do you look at Tingle and think, I hate that character, that's a stupid character? I mean, yeah, that's the point. He's supposed to be stupid. If you find him dumb, of course he's doing what he's supposed to be doing. That's why you're supposed to love him. Why do people hate the stupid characters? Because Zelda's full of them. There's, like, literally lots of characters just as bad as Tingle, and I've never understood why Tingle was the one that gets singled out. Because there's far worse. I know I mention this guy a lot, but if you want a really creepy guy, the Rabbit Land Rescue guy from Spirit Tracks really has Tingle beat by, like, a lot. Jono asks, do you think Nintendo needs to find new areas for the Zelda games? They seem to be reusing a lot of the same areas, though tweaking them, of course, and I'd like to see them set the next game in a new area like Termina. What do you think? Well, you know, that's actually, like, kind of misleading, because, yeah, they reuse a lot of the same locations, you know, of Hyrule, of course, but also, like, Lake Hylia, Death Mountain, things like that. But at the same time, they're not the same areas at all. They're, like, completely different. I mean, it's the same idea, but the layouts are always different. What happens in them is always different. Even their atmosphere is completely different from game to game, usually. So it's less like, oh, I've been here before. And it's a little more like, oh, yeah, I've been here. Wait, what, am I going insane? You know, it's like that. You just go into the area, and it's completely different, and you know it shouldn't be, but it is. You know, because it's game design. You don't want to, even if you're going to reuse locations, you don't want the same layout unless that has some kind of gimmick with your game. You don't want to have the same layout, or else it's just boring. It's the same area. So yeah, Zelda has the same area, but it's not really. So I don't have an issue with it. I don't mind them setting games in other locations, mostly because it gives the world a sense of realism, and it allows them to tell some slightly different kinds of stories than just like, oh, Ganon's coming to take Hyrule over again. And they don't have to use Hyrule's kingdom or lore, you know. But it's still, it's not that different, and I don't really have a big, opinion about it. Nine-Tailed Fox asks, do you think we will ever see Ganon as he was originally in any future Zelda titles? If so, how will that affect the timeline? Assuming you mean the pig form. I think, yeah, we'll probably see it again eventually. I'm not sure when. I mean, like, the demon pig man from, like, the original title, Zelda 2 in the Game Over screen, and A Link to the Past. Yeah, he's taken on a pig form, but the only one that was really authentic to the old version was the Ocarina of Time one, and like you're probably thinking, there are always these transformations. As him appearing as a pig guy, I'm pretty sure it's inevitable that's going to happen again sometime, but it definitely seems like they're sticking with the human guy for a while. Maybe if they do a story where his, like, demonic nature comes out more, he'll turn into a pig guy, or be a pig guy again. That's the closest I can see. Maybe if we are going to get a new 2D game, like I suspect we might, maybe we'll start seeing Ganon in those like the original Ganon in those kinds of things, perhaps. Sage of Fire asks, what do you think of the idea of revisiting old dungeons in a different state? I'm assuming you're talking about, like, revisiting them in the same game as opposed to in a later game, which I don't particularly care for, although if it's, like, really linking the stories of some games, sure. But as for, like, linking them in the same game, you revisit it, that's something they did in Skyward Sword with the Skyview Temple, and I thought that was fascinating. I really wanted them to do more of that in the game. I'd actually love to be able to visit dungeons again just to find some secrets you couldn't get before. Not even just for plot reasons, but for plot reasons is amazing. I think in Skyward Sword you should have had to revisit all the dungeons again, especially during the Song of Heroes section, where there was a lot of filler stuff. But I just like that idea in general, not forgetting about the area, even though it's supposed to be like a level, not making it a level. Let's make it an area, so you go through it like a level, but multiple times, and you have to re-explore it. I really like that idea, and I think that Skyward Sword kind of dropped the ball on that. Other asks, what are your opinions on the similarity between Fi and the Wind Waker's Queen of the Fairies, and do you like pie? If so, what kind? I love pie. Anyone who doesn't love pie needs to be punched in the face. As for what kind, probably apple. As for your question about Fi and the Fairy Queen, you know, actually, that's what, like, everyone was saying. That's what I kept bringing up when Fi was first shown. She looks exactly like the Fairy Queen. I mean, exactly. And actually, in some of the Hyrule Historia concept artwork of Fi, you see the Fairy Queen right next to her. So they were clearly looking at that and decided to make a similar character. Obviously, this has no plot connections, at least that make any sense at all. But, clearly they wanted to reproduce the character design somehow. So, yeah, that's kind of weird. A British Link asks, is there any sort of connection between Ghirahim and Fi? Again, this is a question I'm forced to answer because a lot of people are asking it, and I don't understand it because if you've beaten Skyward Sword, spoiler alert, yeah, there is. They're pretty much the same thing. Swords. So, I don't understand why people keep asking this unless they haven't completed the game. If you completed the game, the answer is obvious. Yes, they are similar. They're not really related. They're not, like, created by the same person or in the same way, but they are similar, yes. Skyward Dork asks, he's kind of a dork, if Demise exists outside of time, then shouldn't he have been ultimately destroyed after the goddess statue crushed him in the future? Well, actually, Demise, I don't know if I've worded it like this or not, if so I apologize. He's not, like, existing out of time. I mean, that's one interpretation of it, but that's one way to word it. But it specifically stated that he has conquered time. So I guess it's existing out of it a little bit, but the key point is that he's conquered it, so I guess he just decided that wouldn't be. Or the simple answer is just that it doesn't work like that, because they didn't want it to work like that. End of story. Golden Link asks, in which Zelda game do you think Link had the most difficult adventure? Interesting question. I'm inclined to say A Link to the Past, the Oracle games, and Link's Awakening, because that Link went through 4 freaking adventures. That said, that's 4 games. So within a single game, I'd probably say The Wind Waker or Skyward Sword, because these are the only games where Link has, these are the games where Link had to go through one hell of a trial. Link in Skyward Sword actually acquired the Triforce. That basically automatically puts him above all the other links, except maybe a Link to the Past's link. Again, bringing that up, because, you know, you need to have, like, all 3 traits to acquire the Triforce. No other Link has been able to do that, again, except a Link to the Past Link. Meanwhile, the Wind Waker Link was no hero at all. He had to prove the status of hero to begin with. He was never even, like, said, oh, you're the legendary hero, here's your sword. So, yeah, one of those 2 guys. Or 3 guys. And last question, Axel the Not-So-Beast, it's okay, not all of us can be that beast, asks, how long do you think Nintendo will keep making Zelda games? The answer is easily acquired by asking yourself, how long will you be buying them? Because as long as you're buying them, they'll be making them. Alright guys, that's it for this time. Be sure to send your questions to the contact page in the description, and I'll see you guys later.